This is Samuel Presson for Storytelling 281, San Jose State University in fall of 2015. I'm going to be telling you an adaptation from a well-known story of Anansi, the spider who brought stories to the world. It's going to be adapted to fit a Norse theme with mythology and folktale elements from that time. One note, the main character, instead of being a spider, is a tomte, which in Norse folktales is a small creature with a beard and a fluffy pointy hat who is known as a trickster, but also somebody who takes care of humans. And it is called Tomte Johan, who brought stories to the world. Johan stroked his beard one evening sitting outside his hovel. It was early winter, and with the nights darkening and growing longer, the people had much less to do. They sat around their fires, bored. Children couldn't go off and play, and the adults had nothing to do. Johan, thinking about this, wondered, there must be something I can do to help these humans, for he was very fond of humans. Thinking about it, he came upon an idea. I know! I will bring stories to them. Stories is what they need to liven up their evenings. But, and that was the problem, for he knew stories were all kept in a box, in a little box by Odin the sky god. And he always kept them with him in his by his throne in Asgard. But plucking up his courage, Johan went to Asgard via the Bifrost, and knowing he could not trick his way into getting these stories, politely came up to Odin the sky god and said, "Odin, O great god, I am here today to request your box of stories." Well, Odin let out a thunderous laugh, for this was for a tomte to ask this request. He bellowed, "Oh, little tomte Johan, you are too small to ask such a thing. Rich princes and great cities have asked for this gift, but they have not been able to pay the price." Johan went, I will pay the price. And Odin said, "I do not think you will, but nevertheless, the price is Gary and Freki, the wolf brothers, whose taste for flesh is unsurpassed, and the Yeting swarm, wasps whose stings are as red-hot needles, and Leila, the bad-tempered water sprite that takes the form of an invisible horse. That is my price. You must pay in order to receive the story box." A little flustered, Johan bowed and left the Odin, going back down the Bifrost. That night he discussed with his wife how he was going to accomplish these tasks that so many others had failed at. But together they discussed, and they came up with a plan. First, to go after Gary and Freki, the wolf brothers, whose taste for flesh was unsurpassed. The next day, Johan went out and found the path the wolves took to the watering hole every evening. Then he found a spot and dug a hole. It took him all day to dig this hole out until it was deep enough that even a wolf would not be able to escape. Then he covered it up so that it wasn't able to be seen, and went home exhausted. The next day he came back and found the two wolf brothers, Gary and Frecky, in the hole. Going up to the hole, he said, "My, what has happened here?" "Oh, foolish Johann," snarled Gary. "Can't you see that we are trapped? Help us out!" Johann went, "Oh, no," in feigned horror. I can't do that, for you would eat me up, and my wife and my children too." Frecky, pouncing on this comment, said, "We promise we will not eat you up. Just give us assistance in helping us out." So Johann said, "For that promise, I will help you out of the hole." And so he found a pine tree close by and bent it down and tied some vines to it. The other end of the vines he gave to the two wolf brothers and told them, "Tie these vines to your tails so that I can pull you out." As after they did that, Johann released the pine tree and it flung up into the air. The wolf brothers went along with it, and as the pine tree swung back into its original place, the vines spun around and round, trapping the wolf brothers in its spin. Once that happened, Johann simply cut the vines free from the tree and said, "Oh, foolish Gary and Frecky, now I will take you to Odin." And he did, going up the Bifrost with the wolf brothers and placing them before Odin. Odin simply said, "I see what I see, there remains what remains." So Johann went back down and discussed again with his wife what he was going to do. And so they devised a plan to capture the Yeting swarm, wasps whose stings are as red-hot needles. And so the next day, he got a clay pot and took it up into the mountains where it had already started to snow, collected snow in the pot, and then found the wasp's nest with the Yeting. He dumped some of the snow on himself and then tossed the rest of it on the wasp's nest. Then, hunkering by the wasp's nest as if protecting from cover of a winter storm, he said, just in time, the wasps came buzzing out, angry at being disturbed. And Johann said, "Oh, you poor Yeting, the winter storms have come early. Quick, come into my clay pot so that you have a safe, warm place." The Yeting, not realizing what was happening, quickly said, "Thank you, Johann. We are thankful for your protection," and went into the clay pot. As soon as the last one had gone in, Johann took his big cap and stuffed it on the lid, clapping it tight so that the Yeting could not get out. "Oh, foolish Yeting, now I will take you to Odin," said Johann. And so Johann went back up the Bifrost and placed the Yeting before Odin. Odin simply said, "I see what I see, there remains what remains." And so Johann went back down the Bifrost. He had one final task, but it was a difficult one, for it was Layla, the bad-tempered water sprite that takes the form of an invisible horse. How was he going to find an invisible horse? Well, he discussed it with his wife, and they came up with a plan that they thought might actually work. Johann carved a Dollarhest, a form of a horse popular in those parts. He carved it out of pine and then used the sap from the pine, made it into a resin, which he coated the Dollarhest with. His wife made a very delicacy of a dish called surströmming, fermented herring, which everybody knew that water sprites loved. And so, with that and a fisherman's net, Johann went to a nearby watering hole, which was frequented by the water sprite. He, in the middle of the night when nobody was around, everybody was sleeping, he placed the Dollarhest in the clearing at the watering hole and placed the surströmming on a plate at its feet. In the morning, as he was hidden in the tall grasses, he heard a voice say, "Ooh, that looks like good surströmming. Can I have some?" And using a mechanism he had rigged, he got the Dollarhest to push the plate of surströmming over towards the unseen voice. And so, soon, Johann saw the surströmming getting eaten up by some invisible being. And finally, when that was done, the unseen voice said, "Ooh, that was lovely. Thank you so much." The Dollarhest didn't respond. The voice again said, "I said thank you. You're supposed to respond to that." Again, no response. "If you don't respond to me, I am going to kick you." No response from the Dollarhest. Suddenly the Dollarhest rocked back and forth, and this was starting to shake some more. "Let go of me! Let go of me!" cried the voice, "or I'll headbutt you!" Thunk! Went a noise. Obviously the head of Leila attacking the Dollarhest. And once again, her head stuck to the resin on the Dollarhest, and she couldn't let go. She thrashed around, and Johann saw the Dollarhest go everywhere around the clearing, but she could not get away. So Johann jumped up out of the tall grasses and threw the fisher's net over the Dollarhest, thereby capturing the water sprite Leila at the same time. "Oh, foolish Leila, now I will bring you to Odin." And so, Leila was brought to Odin, kicking and screaming and cursing all the way up the Bifrost. And the Lord of Asgard was presented with the third and final prize. At this he said, "Johann, you have succeeded, little Tomte, where great princes and rich cities have failed. Therefore, I recognize you and present you with the box of stories that is your right. From now on, these stories will be called Tomte stories. And everybody will know of the great deeds of Johann the Tomte and his work to bring stories to mankind."